Okay, if you've been following the VMTV Twitter account, and you should, um, you've seen a number of old school UWF clips in recent days. Um, the reason for that, other than like it's really great stuff and you should go check it out, is we have UWF Rules show coming to London, ICHIBAN Crusade, Chandler Hall, May 29th. Very happy to be joined by owner and matchmaker of ICHIBAN, Giovanni Giorgio. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Steve. Really appreciate it. And yeah, like you said, it's been so great to see renewed interest and a renewed discussion in UWF. Whenever I log on to, I mean, I keep going to call it Twitter, but I think it's called X now. Whenever I go to log on, I see GIFs and clips and recommendations from old UWF shows. And really, that was the goal with this show, was to show people why I love this kind of wrestling so much and to get people more interested in it.
Of course. And firstly, I have to check. You did run the London Marathon a few weeks ago. Are you all recovered?
Just about. I hate to deliver the news. I have lost a few toenails in the process. A lot of people are asking me why I was wearing a moon boot at Crusade Prelude at the ballroom, and the reason is
Yeah.
because it was literally a protective boot. My entire big toe was exposed open, and I couldn't wear normal shoes. I couldn't go out barefoot, and I didn't want to, for my first appearance at the ballroom in about 7 years, be wearing a dusty pair of Crocs. So it had to be the moon boot. I showed Nina Samuels and Tom Scarborough a photo of why I was wearing the boot. Nina Samuels screamed. Tom Scarborough left the room and came back with tears in his eyes and said, "I don't feel well, so I'll let that just paint a picture in your mind of how bad it is." But we're on the mend now, and I won't be in the moon boot on the 29th of May at Chandler Hall.
Okay. You can't be scaring Nina at the moment. We've got to keep Nina calm.
So I can say that again?
You can't be scaring Nina at the moment. We've got to keep her calm.
No, God, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Probably shouldn't have shown her that.
Look, obviously, we focus on things first, but we obviously put a bit of a ship style twist in there. Some people watching this may not even know what we've got going on. So just set the scene. I'll hand the floor over to you. Just introduce May 29th Crusade.
So it is the first all UWF rules event to take place in the UK. So UWF was this fantastic shoot style promotion in the 90s that then spawned into newborn UWF, UWFI. These matches are going to be way more intense than anything you're used to seeing on the British independents. There's a lot of discussion and discourse at the moment about variety in wrestling, about different tastes, about how to make your shows stand out. And for me, this is really filling a hole in the scene. In the past, we had Tetsujin, a fantastic company who have actually been really helpful in the lead up to this show. We've been talking. It's been really great to talk to the old team. They're even letting us use some footage from old Tetsujin shows, so you'll be seeing that in some upcoming promotional material. Excuse me. Of course, we had Josh Barnett's Bloodsport in London at the end of last year, which was fantastic to have that institution come to London. Very sad to hear it's on a hiatus. Hopefully, it comes back. Um, but if you like your wrestling a little grittier, if you want it to be a bit more raw, if you just want to witness something different, then this UWF Rules event is for you. A brief introduction to what it is. Uh, there'll be a more in-depth rundown on the night, but just to get you excited, so no pinfalls, throw those away, absolutely no pinfalls. It's knockout or submission only. Both wrestlers also start with 15 points. You lose all 15 points, you lose the bout. If you want to hold on to all those points, then you need to avoid being suplexed, avoid being thrown, avoid finding yourself at a disadvantage in a submission hold, and avoid using the ropes. I'll be keeping score all night and keeping the audience informed. All you've got to do is come along and have fun. And for all these matches, we've got standing right by the ring. So you are going to be standing at the ring as physically close as you can get to the action. And as long as you don't spill your lemon sours, you can stay there all night. We want this really intense atmosphere. We want you to be as up close as you can get to the fights. and we're just really excited to bring this card to London for the first time.
Yeah, I did actually notice that you were pushing hard this standing right close to the ring thing. So what's the setup going to be like? Because obviously you've got some seated seats as well.
Yeah, well, we did have some seats, but
Yeah, yeah,
they've
yeah.
sold out. So we obviously whenever I run an event, I always make sure that there are seating and accessible options. But because of the intimate nature of this venue and the configuration we've done, the seated and accessible seats they've gone straight away, um, which is great news for the show and great news for those that got tickets. If you didn't get them this time, I'm very sorry. Hopefully, you can come to Crusade 2. Wink, wink. But yeah, what we just want the atmosphere to be something that you can't get at other shows. So that means standing right by the ring. That means getting swept up in the buzz. It means grabbing yourself a glass of Ichiban beer or a lemon sour. The only place you're going to get those in the UK is at Ichiban.
Yeah, and you mentioned this village that did take me back to an Eve show I went to a few years ago with standing right by the ring. Someone put me on the apron. You'll never guess.
Go
Not
on,
gonna
tell
go
me.
well. We split it.
Sorry,
Yeah, so
the mic quality is really fuzzy. What was that last bit?
yeah, they spilt it.
Oh, on the apron they spilled their drink.
Yes, they did. Yeah, and
That better not
that's good.
happen on May 29th, all right?
No,
If it's an accident, we'll let you off. If it's on purpose, get out of here.
I could just imagine how the wrestlers react to something like that as well.
Yeah, not a fan, especially if they're trying to get out of a submission hold.
Of course, of course. Yeah, obviously the promotion being called Ichiban, obviously shoe style as well. We talk about the Japanese roots, and specifically Ichiban with the shoot style aspect of things. What is it about that style of wrestling that drew your attention to the point where you want to bring this to the UK in a way that's not really been done too much?
I just think when I was first getting into wrestling at the ripe old age of 12, you sort of only absorb that one style, the most accessible mainstream style, and then as you get older and your tastes evolve, you start seeking out, in your eyes, wackier stuff, more unique stuff, more different stuff, and then eventually, you sort of go down this tape trading and tape hunting route, and you come across these new styles. And when I first started learning professional wrestling, when I was 20, because I was deluded enough to think that I could be a professional wrestler, I was very fortunate in that my teachers instilled in me that it was very important to learn as many different styles as you can. And there was often a focus on shoot techniques, shoot style, shoot submissions. And so that re-sparks the interest. And then, you fall in love with British style, you fall in love with World of Sports style. And then obviously, there's all these infamous clips, from the Eastern world. You've got the old Pancrase, the classic Rampage Jackson just getting out of a triangle, like power bombing a guy. Um, you just want that variety, so you keep seeking it out. And it goes back to that thing of, even people who are in wrestling, who love wrestling, there's only so much of one kind of wrestling you can absorb before you get a little bit, what's the word? A little bit jaded by it. But I think something as fresh as UWF style just piques your interest. When you're watching sort of mainstream wrestling, it sort of has this predictable rhythm, but if you look away for a minute and look back, you can sort of guess what you've missed, or you can guess what's going to happen next. You're not going to be able to do that at Crusade. I promise you that now.
Of course. And we obviously talk about the influence there. Ichiban, obviously the name suggests, away from Crusade, even a promotion influenced by Japanese wrestling. Um, yeah. So in terms of Japan, obviously you've been to Japan, you've toured with Noah, you've toured with Marigold. What is it about wrestling over there that makes it so special that maybe it's tough to kind of replicate in the Western world that obviously you would have to do with this?
Uh, two things, and they sound really basic, but it's a combined effort, and it's over decades where this has been built up. Um, it's the way the wrestlers get into the business and the way they learn. It's so intense, and it's the top 1% that make it. You know, there's no, oh, it's my dream, please let me do it. You have to be good enough to make it. And they just fight with such intensity. And then with the fans, it's the level of respect and care and admiration. Koga's on excursion at the moment,
Yeah.
and the Japanese fans are sending messages to the UK asking how he is doing. Can you give us an update? We want to know how Koga's doing. We love him. We miss him. Um, there's this real affection from the fans towards the wrestlers, and it's this shared respect. Um, and when people talk about respect of Japanese fans, I'm sick of hearing this stupid thing that people say, because it's not true. They say, "Oh, the thing with Japanese fans is that they're really quiet and respectful, and they just clap during the matches, and then sometimes they scream." What Japanese wrestling are you watching? I think the people that say that are wrestlers that go over to Japan, have a crap match, and no one reacts to it. They go ape shit over there. What wrestling are you watching? Go watch any All Japan main event featuring Hansen Kobashi. They are losing their minds from the opening bell. Where is this clapping you're speaking of? Nah.
I mean, that's very true. That's very true. I was just thinking of even New Japan the other week, the main event with Callum Newman and Shingo. The crowd loved that match. They were bought into that story, and you could tell. There's no if it was a thing, it's a very old school thing, and it's certainly not a thing anymore. But like you mentioned, the the great matches of the past as well. The crowds are loving it, and you can tell.
Yeah, they're on fire. And speaking of Callum Newman, just incredible to see where he is now, youngest ever IWGP champion. That record may never be broken again. So his name's in the history books. Got a lot of time for Callum. When I first went to Japan, it was obviously a very overwhelming experience, especially if you don't speak the language and if you don't really know what you're doing. If you've got like a day to yourself, it's quite overwhelming, easy to get lost. Uh, Callum took me out to dinner. Great guy, and so that was, well, what, a year and a half ago, and to see where he is now, what a guy.
Yeah, it's a crazy rise, especially when he first started. There was all these like sort of murmurs about how he was doing. Essentially, the hardcore Japanese fans weren't necessarily getting behind him as much as maybe you or I, people that had seen him in the UK, would have imagined. So to see that rise has been like crazy and really impressive.
It's insane, and it's people always touted from a young age that Callum was destined for great things, and you see just how fast he is, and you see the evolution of his character and his style, and he's got these deep pockets he can dig into. So if he's IWGP champion now,
Yeah,
who knows where he's going to be 5 years from now? Maybe he'll still have that belt. Maybe they'll have to make a new belt for him because he's doing so well. The world is his oyster, really.
yeah. Obviously, back to Crusade. Did you feel a bit of an element of risk from pushing such a product that hasn't really been seen in the UK? Because when you look at it, it's a niche inside a niche inside a niche. Um, was there any risk in your mind or any doubt that the fans would take to it as much as they have?
There really was. So back in November, I promoted one UWF match on a card of, just standard one fall pinfall time limit matches. And that was always going to be the pilot to see how the fans would react to it. Because if you've never seen it before, it's a bit overwhelming, it's a bit confusing. It really stands out on a card. So I thought, let me. This is the perfect place to try it. Let me run this one match and see how the crowd reacts to it. And because it's such a demanding match, I knew I could trust Jay Joshua and Jordan Breaks to knock it out the park, which they did. The reaction to that match in the room and online was so great that I thought, okay, I have to now see if I can run a full show of this. Still thinking it would be a risk, to the point where I really went back and forth on pulling the trigger on running this show. I wanted to make sure it was at the right time, but I could get the wrestlers I needed. And any promoter will tell you, I mean, booking any kind of show comes with all kinds of nightmares. But you know, I wanted 14 very specific people on a Friday night in London, so it took months. It took months and months to try and make this happen. So when the post went out, when the launch went out, I was apprehensive. I thought, you know, the show is going to be fantastic and I'm going to be proud of it, but is it going to sell tickets and is it going to make money? Because sadly, in this day and age, the age of the passion project is over. All right. People have mortgages to pay. All right. People need to put petrol in their cars. Shows need to make money. So there was a moment where I thought, this show really is a risk. But we are now 40 tickets away, less than 40 tickets away from a sellout. And the online reaction has just been so great. And we haven't even announced our first match yet. All 14 competitors have been announced, but I crunched the numbers, and this is going to sound unbelievable, but try and get your head around this. Actually, I'm going to ask you, Steve. So it's 14 competitors that have been announced, and on the night, it's going to be 7 singles matches, okay? So how many different combinations do you think there are for the card? How many possible versions of this Crusade card exist?
I'm not even gonna try and work that out. Maths was never my strong suit. So I'm gonna leave that one to you, I think.
So basically, the way you work it out is because it's pairs and they don't need to be consecutive. You end up doing 13 times 11 times 9 times 7. You keep going, all right, and you end up with 135,135 possible combinations of matches on this show.
Yeah.
And I have the job of picking the best one. Um, so I've got a 1 in 135,135 chance of picking the perfect card. But the beauty of the wrestlers I have booked for this event is that every single one of them is fantastic. So whatever combination you get, it's going to be great. But we know how things always go. You can please some people all of the time, but you can't please all people some of the time. I can't really remember how that expression goes, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, obviously, you've booked the talent you have for a reason. It's talent that's gonna do well in this style. So I think it's an amazing combination. I think there's more than one in that 130,000 or whatever it is that's gonna be good. I think you could do any number of combinations and the show's gonna be a banger. Let's talk about this lineup because I think there's really something for everyone. We've got these guys like Luke Jacobs, Ethan Allen, Connor Mills, who are the top of the indie scene. We've got someone like Damon Moser, who, although maybe doesn't wrestle as much now and certainly hasn't wrestled for the major promotions in a long time, but he's a guy who has that background in martial arts that seems well suited for this style. And then obviously you mentioned Koga earlier. We've got the Japanese lads, and Katsuya Murashima making his UK debut. Um, one of the best, certainly one of the best young lions in recent years. Yeah, as good of a young lion as they've really had, and he also has that amateur wrestling background as well. So another one where I sent it to a friend of mine when he got announced, and we were like, "Oh yeah, he's perfect."
Yeah,
So just
two-time champion in 2 weight divisions as well. He's unbelievable.
yeah, yeah. So that's certainly one that obviously stood out to a lot of people. A lot of people kind of were very excited when they first saw that tease that you put out and then announced them. Yeah, just talk about the group of talent. What makes it suitable for the style and why people should be excited, and obviously feel free to rattle through the rest of the names as well.
I mean, first and foremost, this kind of wrestling is so demanding and so difficult and so intense that uh, I wasn't just looking at the background of the wrestlers, I was looking sort of at what I know about them and sort of their intestinal fortitude. So you mentioned someone like Damon Moser, who only recently came back from it was a career-ending leg injury. I hadn't seen Moser in a number of years, and then when I did see him, his leg was just in this cage with pins sticking into the bone. And he was telling me about this injury, and it was absolutely horrific. Um, and that is the real test of someone's mettle in wrestling. You know, if they get an injury like that, do they call it quits, or do they recover, go through the rehab, and come back better than ever? And Moser not only fought through that horrific injury and has now returned to professional wrestling. I was actually able to be on commentary for his return to professional wrestling in Margate. He's now a first Q in judo. So I had to have him on because not only does he have that legit background, I know that he's someone who has the willpower and the desire to be at the top, and he fought through that horrific injury and he's now come back. Murashima speaks for itself. I'm very proud that Ichiban is going to be the company that brings him to the UK for the very first time. The ethos of Ichiban is to bring the greatness of Japanese wrestling, of Puroresu, to the UK. So now that we have Murashima, that means we've worked with New Japan Pro Wrestling, we've worked with Pro Wrestling Noah, we've worked with Sendai Girls. We just want to keep inviting this great talent and keep collaborating. And as I mentioned, he's just 2026 Young Lion Cup winner, wrestling champion at 2 different weight classes. I've got 14 great names to rattle off. But yeah, as I was saying, I looked at the pedigree, but I also looked at, is this the kind of wrestler that I need for this show? And the answer for all 14 names is yes. Look at Danny Jones. I can't remember his exact stats off the top of my head, but he's over 6 foot. He's north of 250 pounds. Wrestled in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Took it to Minoru Suzuki at Ambition. All right, he's not someone
I've
that.
always been a big Danny Jones fan.
Yeah, he's not someone that backs down from a fight. But you know, there are some names on the card. Some names it's obvious. You know, we've got Connor Mills, Mark True, both undefeated in mixed martial arts. There are some names on the card like a Nico Angelo, that have had people questioning. You know, okay, but Nico Angelo, terrific wrestler, top of the scene. What are his credentials to be on this show? And I'll tell you what his credentials are. He's the scariest man I know. I'm glad I know him and he knows me, because that means he's on my side. Okay? I want to see Nico Angelo unleashed under this rule set, and it is going to prove very, very foreboding. And then Kanji as well, long been touted as one of the country's great grapplers, great submission artist. Now that she started training in Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, it just means even more reason to invite her in. I could go on all night, but everyone is on this card for a reason, and it's because they can be trusted to do this style, and because it's clearly selling tickets, it's working. There is this hole in the scene left by Tetsujin, left by Bloodsport. People want to see this kind of wrestling, and I'm very glad that Ichiban can give it to you.
Very excited. Obviously, Ichiban is not your only project. You've got a couple ceasefire shows coming up as well. Obviously, the big show in August, All In Weekend. But I think you've got June as well with Play Fight. Let people know where you can kind of follow up with what's going on with that. And obviously, for people who don't know what the mission is there as well.
Yeah, so Pro Wrestling Ceasefire is a lot of people call it a promotion. I don't like to call it that. It's a series of fundraising events, and it was started by Chuck Mambo and I in July 2024 in the lead up to All In, and these wrestling shows raise money for UNICEF UK and the Lebanese Red Cross, and it was always intended to be a one-off event, something small and fun to kick off All In Weekend. I just found this perfect little venue, and I had a perfect little crew, and there was a match that I just uh, had been trying to book for 5 years, and I didn't have a promotion at the time, so I thought, let me run just a show and let me book Jordan Breaks versus Kanji, because I've been trying to book this match for 5 years, and why don't I take advantage of the hundreds of thousands of fans coming into London for All In Weekend? So that's how the first Ceasefire show happened, and about halfway through, I just looked around and I went, okay, we just got to do another one. This really is a fantastic event. So by the time uh, All In rolls around this year, we'll be running our 10th show, and we've raised over £10,300 so far, which is something we're very proud of. We had an update from UNICEF recently, sort of breaking down what that money goes to and exactly how big the impact is. We'll do a post about that soon. But when you see the numbers, it really does hit home how important it is to fundraise for such a wonderful organization. But yes, you are correct. We have an event coming up on Sunday, the 28th of June, our first ever collab show with Playfight, a wrestling school I'm very proud to be a member of the coaching team of. I teach the performance classes there. We look at wrestling and non-wrestling roles on shows. We focus a little bit more on how you can have a career in wrestling without necessarily being an in-ring competitor, which is obviously something close to my heart as an announcer, commentator, promoter, referee, drinks trolley pusher, all these jobs I do. So that's on Sunday the 28th of June, and then on the Thursday of All In Weekend in August, we are kicking off All In Weekend, and the last two shows that happened during that weekend, these aren't my words, these are the words of other people. People have come up to us and said, this is the most fun I've had at a wrestling show in years. And we've had people come to the second year and they said, your show was on the Thursday last year. I did the whole weekend. I'm going to be honest, your show was my favorite. These are real reviews from real people. It's a fun night out, all right? Forget all your preconceived notions of wrestling. Um, it's just a wacky, fun night out. It's got a little bit of something for everyone. It's got one of the cheapest bars you're gonna find in London that week as well. And I won't be competing this year. All right, for anyone who thinks
Ah,
I'm gonna put the stripes back on and put the knee pads back on, no. All right. I somehow ended up in a 45-minute wrestling match and I don't have the cardio for it. Okay. I'm not doing it. I'm going to leave it to the professionals. I'm going to leave it to the Kanjis and Jordan Breaks of the world.
I still find myself thinking of that main event from last All In show. Like just going about my day and I'm thinking of the My Way spot or Mambo breaking a watermelon over Oscar, I think. Or Tom
Yeah,
and
our
his
cleanup
beret.
crew often remember the watermelon spot as well.
Right next to it, just sitting right in that corner. Yeah, I was right in that corner, pretty much next to where that happened. And then the plates, they wouldn't have been easy
The
to clean up.
watermelon and the plates mixed together created this horrible goo that was so difficult to clean up. And I've said it 100 times, but I am ring crew. I'm very sorry that we gave you gave you such an impossible job to do that night.
I mean, it's worth it, right? Given the impression I had of that match, the impression everyone in the no one in the building will forget that match. I promise you that.
Yeah, well, as someone who was involved in everything around it, all I kept thinking was, "Oh my God, we've left this venue in such a mess." But you know, myself, Mambo, Charlie, Sally, and we had a great crew as well. We always leave that venue exactly as we found it. But yeah, I think I might have to put a note up backstage this year. No watermelons, only on the
Right.
bar, not in the matches.
Of course, of course. We're both pushed time, so I'm gonna let you go in a second. I just have one question, from your friend and mine, Shibuya. He's doing a thread on Twitter at the moment. He wants to know your favorite UWF Reborn match. Newborn.
Newborn. Ooh. I never remember if they're from Original Newborn or UWFI. I'll tell you what, I've got a match queued up to watch tonight that was sent to me by Mr. Barnett. He said, you've got to check out this if you're running a UWF rules show. So I'll tell you what is on my queue to watch tonight. There is. I'm sure this is riveting stuff, just watching me scroll through my phone.
You can just list your promo when you click off as well.
All right. Tell you what, tonight I am watching Tatsuya Nakano versus Suzuki from Newborn. So that actually is from Newborn. So that's what I'm watching tonight.
That's what we're going with. You mentioned that. Is it on YouTube?
It is on YouTube. Go on YouTube. It should be the first thing that comes up. Tatsuya Nakano, Minoru Suzuki, UWF Newborn. If you want the exact date, it's from the 13th of August, 1989. And it's from Kick Submission Suplex, which I'm definitely going to subscribe to now, actually. Because it looks like they have got an incredible archive. Whoa! They've got nothing but UWF Newborn on here. And I've actually got I've got a lot of videos on here with the red bar on to say I've watched them. Well, I know what I'm doing tonight.
Checks out. I will get that channel sent over to our guy who's posting all of the UWF clips in lead up to ICHIBAN. So we will get some more clips from those. We'll get that match that match you just suggested. Well, just finally, yeah, I know you guys. So thanks for taking the time. Give us a hard sell. May 29, Chandler Hall. Why should people make sure they're there?
Because it will be unlike any other show you see this year. It will be the closest you get to wrestling this year. And I don't know how many times I have to say this. It's the only wrestling show in the UK where you can watch Ichiban while drinking Ichiban and some lemon sours as well.
You're really pushing. You're really pushing the Japanese beer. I get it. I like it.
The bar is where we make our money, Steve. All right. I would be a terrible businessman if I didn't push it.
Okay, that makes sense. It makes sense. Oh yeah, I want to thank you for taking the time to do. I will be there May 29. If you're watching this, you should be too. Very excited to find out what this card is because, like you say, 130,000 possibilities. And I'm sure you've stumbled on the right one. So I can't wait. Thanks for taking the time today, Gio. Yeah, best of luck with the show.
Thank you very much. I'll see you there.